The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Sorry I missed you yesterday. Had a something interesting go on. Actually, it's been going on for a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to share it today, but I definitely will do an episode on it because I think it'll be, how's that for a tease? Holy mackerel. It's actually a little bit like bigger picture, a little bit bigger picture life stuff, but maybe I will talk about it a little bit today. Let's have a little riff session / heart to heart. Haven't done this for a while, but I will say I have thoroughly enjoyed doing this podcast for sure. I absolutely have, and it's definitely made me very introspective. Obviously it's totally kept me on touch with, kind of the pulse of the world and what's going on in politics and geopolitics, obviously what's going on in the AI space, which I really need to start talking more about that again. I mean, I think I sprinkle in things here and there, but I need to make that, maybe a bigger part of this. And then just overall, obviously when you're in a situation where, you're trying to put out multiple episodes throughout the week and, anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, you obviously need content. And so when you are, searching for that content, it really enables you to kind of, just be aware and be, it's almost like being present, not in life. Well, I guess sort of in life, but you're being present in what's going on in the world. Now, I will say, with that being said, I mean, it does wear on me. It absolutely does wear on me. It's like you see all this stuff going on. And I'm talking even like, domestic political issues. And, some of it just makes you so mad. And again, I really mean this. This is kind of on both sides. It really is. It's on both sides. There's things that the Republican Party says and gets behind that, genuinely make me mad. And then there's things the Democratic Party says and gets behind, and, those genuinely make me mad. And that wears on you. It really does. Like, again, it makes me sometimes envious of my friends or people that kind of have their head in the sand with all this stuff, and they're really just going on about their lives. Sometimes, obviously, I feel like, man, that is just so much easier to do it that way. But again, we're all built differently, and I think everybody has their own tolerance for things. And so, obviously for me, even though, again, sometimes I guess being that aware, it really does wear on me. It wears on me more because, honestly, I wish I had a bigger voice. I wish I had the ability to have a bigger impact on a larger number of people. And so, I guess I can blame that on myself. I mean, there's nothing stopping me from having a bigger voice and all that except me. So anyway, I did want to kind of start off and share that a little bit. And, there is something in particular that, as I teased at the beginning, I absolutely will do an episode on once I kind of see what happens with it. But, I will tell you the one thing that should not be political, it should not be divisive, is our health. I really do get back to this health thing. And again, I want to, make a commitment that I'll try to, again, just like the AI stuff, really make health a bigger part of the show moving forward. And again, I'll say this, I can't even believe we're getting into the back half of the year, but think about your health over the past year. Are you healthier than you were at the beginning of 2024 in January? Do you weigh more or less than you did in January? Have you, I don't know, changed up your diet, your exercise program? Have you done the things that, maybe at the beginning of the year you wanted to do? And if that answer is no, if those answers are fundamentally no, moving into 2025, I really want to make this a bigger part of our commitment to each other. And I really want to make this, more, what's the word? We have to have more accountability. And I'm working on a few different tools to try and, create some community accountability, which would be awesome. So, that is really important. Gosh, as the as the years go by, and especially now coming out of, the 2 or 3 years of COVID that we've had, and again, I'm not gonna make this controversial, but obviously something that many people decided to take two two versions of. Some people took the third, some people took fourth, some people took fifth. I'll use my liquid vitamin name Boost as a word play, and many boosted themselves many times with that. I mean, again, I'm sorry. This is just calling a spade a spade. There are health issues that are coming up for people that boosted boosted themselves a lot. And again, I'm not talking about my liquid vitamin, even though I'm saying the name. And so, with all that being said, we've got to take our health seriously. We really have to take our health seriously. These days, I hate to say it, but anytime my phone rings, I mean, like my phone actually rings, and let's say it's a friend that I haven't talked to in a while, I s I swear I'm like, "Oh god, who died?" Like, I hate to say that, but, like, it happened just yesterday. I had a friend call. I saw the name come in, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is not gonna be good." And luckily, it wasn't anything bad. It was totally something, good. But by the same token, I had another friend call, over the weekend, and they unfortunately have a turbo cancer situation where all of a sudden they've got cancer in their GI tract, and they're basically having to have surgery. And in his case, they're literally cutting out his rectum. Like, they're going to cut out his rectum and replumb his body. And it's not good. It's not a good situation. I mean, unfortunately, even though he decided to move forward with it, I'm worried about not necessarily the surgery for him, but I'm worried about the post-op and the complications that could arise, and the potential for infection, and then the potential for sepsis and all of that stuff. And so, anyway, I wanted to kind of just make a commitment moving forward, regardless of this secretive thing that I keep alluding to, that I really want to bring more health related stuff. And especially, once the election is over next week, and whenever they decide to let us know the direction of the country moving forward, maybe it is time to pivot the deep shallow dive, or not fully pivot, but you know, add significant more columns to the discussion. And, that's part of what I've been mulling over, really over the past month or two. And again, some of that honestly is because, man, this geopolitical stuff really, it does. It wears on your soul. It wears on your soul. Like, when you are so aware of what's going on, and obviously you guys know the way I think about things. And again, I would just couch the way I think about things as, I just want to ask questions. I really just want to ask questions, and I want to understand. And when something happens that doesn't necessarily make sense, I want to get behind, an inquisitive thought process with that. And then secondly, when there are narratives that I'm seeing. I mean, things are so obvious to me these days. Like once you figure out not the playbook, because I don't know if I can say I've figured out the playbook, but once you figure out that there is a playbook, you look at everything differently. When something happens, you can I don't wanna say you can see through it, but you really can see around it for sure, and you can see it for sure, you can see what is taking place. You can see coordinated messages across all media. You can see, especially when there is a true, partisan division of right versus left. That's when something's fishy. And again, this is on both sides. This definitely is on both sides. I mean, I will say it skews a little more on the Democrat side. It does. That's just the reality of it. That's just calling a spade, and that's the truth. But I'll tell you the one thing that I'm hoping does not get lost in all this is, again, this concept of make America healthy again. I mean, immediately that would have to get a different name if Harris Walls wins and the Democrats stay in power, because they're not going to advocate for MAHA, make America healthy again, because that's a term that kind of belongs to the Republicans, and it belongs to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and it belongs to Trump. And if blue stays in power, they're obviously not going to embrace that term. And they're definitely not going to work with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on it. They're not going to appoint him to anything. But I'm hoping that if blue stays in power, I'm hoping that they come up with their version of it, and we really start to take the health of this nation seriously, because it is on an incredible decline. And let me read you something. So this was posted by Callie Means. Even this brother and sister duo, Casey and Callie Means, whom, by the way, I think their heart is totally in the right place with what they've tried to do. Now, I mean, I've got holes in their stuff that I absolutely have poked, and I'll bring those to the podcast here in another episode. But, he posted something on Twitter, and it says, the United States is 4% of the world's population and produces 70% of the world's pharma profits. We also rank 60th in global life expectancy. Think about that. We rank 60th, the 60th highest country in terms of global life expectancy. And we are only 4% of the world's population, yet we're producing 70% of the world's pharma profits. Now, I'll have to go and try to fact check that and make sure that's accurate. But I will say what definitely is accurate is the fact that health is not on the front burner in the United States. And I think it definitely is in other countries, but it should be for everyone around the world. And by the way, I do want to make something clear. This is, you know, I am not I guess I am not an advocate that all big pharma is bad. I'm just not. I don't think that's the right approach either. There's tremendous good that comes out of so many things from big pharma. But I think that what's happened is that it's not necessarily the fault of big pharma, although obviously it definitely is to an extent, but it is a little bit the fault of the culture and mindset that we've created, which is, the Band-Aid mindset. Hey, I'm overweight. Let me take this. Hey, my blood pressure is high. Let me take this. Hey, I've got a rash on my skin. All of a sudden I have, rashes all over my body. Let me rub this cream on it. What I think has gotten lost is that body, mind, you want to add soul into it, you can, but really that connection between the underlying root cause. And I don't want to label that anything because I don't want to make it sound hokey or anything like that. But I'll share a perfect example with you guys of something for me personally. And gosh, I wish I was more into this when this happened, because I wish I had done a better job of documenting my I guess my treatment of what happened to me. But back in like 2000, it's probably like 2002, 2003. Yeah, it was like 2000, actually 2001, 2002, 2003. So I started getting vitiligo, and I may have talked about this on an episode a long time ago, but vitiligo is that discoloration of the skin. Michael Jackson kind of made it famous, where it's like he started to get patches of white skin, and so he bleached himself and all that. But I started getting that, and it was really due to a variety of stresses that were in my life at the time. And so I got little white spots on, the most predominant part was my hands. Like if you take both your hands right now and hold them in front of your face and like spread your fingers, so it's almost like you're about to set a volleyball. But it looked like somebody took bleach and threw it on my hands. It really did. I had like all these little white dots on my hands, and it was, man, it was not good. I was incredibly, self-conscious about my hands. When I would go shake hands with people, I would always, instead of kind of the power grip, putting your hand on top, I'd always kind of lay my hand flat, because I really wanted to minimize people seeing my hands. And then I had a little bit around, the corners of my mouth, a few spots on a couple private parts, which I'm not going to delve much into. And, and then like an occasional little dot here on my leg, on my arm, this, that, this, that. Anyway, long story, just a little bit longer on this. I went to several dermatologists. They gave me topical creams. They helped a little. I remember one of the topical creams in particular. I can't remember the name of it. I wish I could. But I did see some darkening of the skin in certain areas, but it wasn't cohesive. It wasn't to where it took it all away. It almost like made it worse, because within a, let's say, white circle, you'd all of a sudden have a dark spot inside that circle, but then there's white all around it. It was like I don't know, an Oreo cookie or something. But so it wasn't good. And so I kind of took it upon myself. And again, this was before I was into any of this health stuff. I mean, seriously, this is crazy. But I did research a bunch of things, and it came down to a few different factors. One, it came down to, lack of certain vitamins. And that's funny that this was well before I even created Boost. So Boost had nothing to do with this. So lack of vitamins, lack of sunlight. I think that was a huge one. And then stress, actually probably stress was the biggest. I think the sunlight might have been number two. And then maybe the vitamins help trigger the sunlight to basically repigment. And so what I ended up doing was I took a concoction of vitamins. I eliminated the three different areas of stress in my life, and it was a bad relationship. It was a very stressful job. So I kind of went in a different direction from that. And then the third thing was, luckily, living in California, I sat outside every day for 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes in the direct sun without a shirt on. And I let the sun kind of give me the vitamin D. And knock on wood, thank God, I almost can't even remember when it happened, but all I know is I've probably seen a 95% repigmentation of all areas of my body, which is crazy, because everybody, when I say everybody, every dermatologist told me, well, you'll never repigment that. But what we can do is try to keep it from happening more, which I was like, well, how are you going to do that? And again, the only solution was topical creams, which I don't think actually did anything as far as kind of the repigmentation process. So anyway, fundamentally, this vitiligo that I had, which honestly I was like forward thinking to, okay, how do I manage this for the rest of my life? And I think I have talked about this on a much, much earlier episode of this podcast series. But I remember thinking, I don't care if it takes over my whole body, as long as it doesn't like jack up my face. That's a little Ray D vanity for you, but that's real talk. That's all I cared about. I was like, just don't affect my face and I'm good. I can deal with anywhere and everywhere else on my body. But like I said, through that little 3-step protocol, 1, eliminating stress, 2, taking an immune boosting, no pun intended actually, combination of vitamins, and then 3, 15 to 20 minutes of direct sunlight a day, I managed to repigment, like I said, probably 95, maybe 98% of my body. There's very little remnants of the vitiligo left. And, thank God it hasn't come back. But like I've got a friend who recently I reconnected with, and man, her story is insane. But she all of a sudden, I believe in 2017, started suffering from alopecia. And alopecia, if you're not familiar with it, is basically when your hair starts to just fall out and the follicles fall out. And so you pretty much like go bald everywhere on your body. It's not just your head. You lose your eyebrows, your eyelashes, the legs on your or not the legs on your arms. I was about to say the legs on your arms, the hair on your legs, the hair on your arms, all that. I mean, literally lose everything. And so she posted this TikTok video that kind of chronicled her journey with this, and I was blown away. Honestly, I had lost touch with her, so I didn't know she has gone through any of this stuff. But she actually ended up getting on a clinical trial for something from a pharma company for the not the vitiligo, for the alopecia. And I mean, this is crazy. She completely, all her hair is back on her head. I don't know about the rest of her body, but I will ask her. And I asked her if she wanted to come on the podcast to talk about it. And she said she would. She said she would. She's just like, hey, let me just get myself to a little better place. Because right now, as soon as I start talking about it, I'll probably start crying. And I said, that's okay. That's totally fine. I don't mind that. But she wanted a little time to kind of, I guess, get herself in a better frame of mind. But it is amazing. Like this video she posted on TikTok. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, she chronicled her journey. And again, thank God her journey has led her back to where now she totally, has grown all the hair back on her head. And like I said, I'm hoping to get her back on. And by the way, I am going to try to get the interviews going again. I'll be honest with you. I had a few in the queue, and during the editing process, I just realized they just weren't that good. They weren't that good. I want to bring you guys, content from guests that are truly meaningful and that truly have, either something we can learn from or a perspective or something along those lines. And I had done a few, and I just realized, like, man, there's just not anything real compelling here. And so, I decided not to air those. And then, like I said, I took a little break from bringing guests on, but I'm going to pick that up again. I absolutely am. And like I said, someone like her, I think that'll be fascinating. I mean, I think that'll be fascinating to see, what happened, what did you do, where you are now, and then obviously depending on how vulnerable she wants to get, like that's something we can all learn from. So anyway, all right, holy mackerel, coming up on 24 minutes of just yapping away. Well, you know what? That's okay. That's okay. I think today was kind of a good sort of reset a little bit. We've obviously had just a tremendous amount of episodes that have dealt with what is going on geopolitically, and again, good or bad, I don't want to say we're coming to an end with the election next Tuesday, but what I will say is that, again, for me personally, depending on what happens, I just want to start adding more and different layers to this. I've said that a few times, and then I always just default back to talking politics and geopolitics. But I do want to start to kind of, add direction, and then who knows, maybe move in a totally different direction. So Anyway, that's about it. Happy Halloween to everybody. Enjoy your Halloween. And that's it, man. Keep it real. Call a spade a spade. And seriously, seek out genuine people. Seek out genuine people in your life and cherish those relationships. Seriously. They're the ones that are worth it these days. They're the ones that are worth it. There's just so much noise out there. All right. Ray D out. Oh, I'm not supposed to use that. Oh, by the way, one thing I did want to make sure I said this. I had somebody who listened to the previous episode was like, dude, I don't know how did you go from or how did you go from the Menendez brothers to Milli Vanilli? What's that? What's that connection? And I realized I didn't really explain that. But basically, if you didn't watch the Netflix series and haven't really kind of paid attention with this whole Menendez brothers situation. So I guess Lyle Menendez loved Milli Vanilli. And remember, that was back in like 1989, and that was at the height of Milli Vanilli's, fame before they got, outed for the lip syncing. So basically, both Menendez brothers, but Lyle in particular, loved Milli Vanilli. And so with the emergence of the Menendez brothers back into the zeitgeist, it's also reemerged Milli Vanilli back into a lot of things, TikTok videos, but their music has kind of like gotten a second life. And it looks like now the one guy from Milli Vanilli, because I think the other dude killed himself, but the one guy is now performing concerts and all that. So pretty interesting how this whole situation is almost like giving him a second chance. So anyway, that is the connection between the Menendez brothers and Milli Vanilli. All right, call a spade a spade.
That was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.